Welcome to Talk Spirit Jazz. I'm Brother Craig.
And I'm Brother Lasana. And we're here to bring you jazz.
You know, all the musicians in my days had nicknames. My name was Satchel Mouth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Duke Ellington. I have a band. I think the future is going to be all of this wonderful music that has been inspired by the distant rumors out of Africa, transplanted to America and the Caribbean.
I like to try to sing like a horn.
The accents actually say bebop.
You have to have yourself together as a person to express yourself with music.
And the important thing is not to play where people have to intellectualize your music. Because music is like a river. It's supposed to flow and wash away the dust of everyday life.
I believe that men are here to grow themselves into the best goods that they can be. This is my belief.
Jazz is only a white man's word he gave to music that he couldn't play, so we don't use that word.
From my perspective as a kid, funk, it felt like jazz. It was the same thing to me, same music but two different words.
Jazz is freedom. I want you to smile. Jazz is, as Abbie Lincoln would put it, a spirit, a spirit, a spirit, a spirit, a spirit, a spirit.
Hey, Brother Lasana, how you doing, man?
Good, Craig. How you feeling, brother?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good.
Right. Yeah, especially after that great concert the other night, right?
That's right. Gil Scott-Heron tribute. And today, we've explored in the past, I don't know, what are some of the other topics? We explored some of our favorite music. We explored some male vocalists.
Right.
Female vocalists.
Definitely.
Also,
female instrumentalists as well.
Female instrumentalists, bassists.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are we going to do today? That's really what's important.
Well, we're going to start out with the exploration of some of our favorite saxophone players, whether they play alto, tenor, or even soprano in some instances. And some of the people we're going to go to does all of those things.
Yeah, and the saxophone is like a very prominent upfront, type of instrument. Any place, but particularly in jazz music, you see the saxophone and the trumpet really being in the forefront, oftentimes very attention grabbing. And so some of these people will be people that I'm sure listeners have heard of, maybe some of their favorites, but then we also have some surprises, maybe people that you can learn about.
Exactly.
But not this first one.
No, this first one, we're going to come with the top of the charts and the top of the pyramid when it comes to saxophone players. We're going to start off with the revered and legendary John Coltrane, and the tune we are going to lead out with is an ethereal, beautiful tune called Alabama.
Right, Alabama.
Yeah, Train at his best. He summed up in that whole tune the whole experience of Alabama in the 60s and what it represented for many Black people, and how the haunting quality of this track, Alabama, really summed up both the hopes, the aspirations, and some of the pain and tragedy that was experienced by those in the southern lands during the 1960s and early 50s of being in places like Alabama in the Dixie South before it became a little bit more transformed near the end of the 60s going into the 70s, where you still had some of the challenges, but you were emerging from that period of darkness that goes with being in those places.
And it's really like a lament, really, a lament to the white racist terror that we experienced, African people experienced in the South, in Alabama. And in fact, one place where this song is played is on Spike Lee's Malcolm X movie, where in one scene, Malcolm is portrayed at home watching television and observing the racist terror from police against Black demonstrators. and in the background you hear this song, Alabama, playing. But this came out, it was 1964.
Mm-hmm.
It's from the album Coltrane Live at Birdland in 1964. And on that album, of course, Coltrane is playing the tenor saxophone, in some places also the soprano saxophone.
Yes.
You got my main man on piano, McCoy Tyner.
Absolutely.
Elvin Jones on the drums.
Jimmy Garrison
on that bass.
Yes.
And that was a quartet that was very formidable. They did great music together. And of course, Lasana, I appreciate this because this song was so, it's just it's special. It's a one of a kind. And Coltrane did great music, but this particular song really represents a kind of sensitivity
to the things that were happening to our people at that time, and the fact that many of our musicians, through various ways and various undertones and overtones, expressed that in their music, showing their solidarity to the struggles of the people and their support for how they would go through that, and the music also giving them the impetus to continue in their struggle.
And even though there aren't any lyrics, just the title itself and just the spirit in the music is something that's very moving and touching. And, you know, continuing on from that, great saxophonist, in fact, someone who basically came in the wake of Coltrane, I really feel, is this next gentleman. We want to explore one of his contributions, and that's Roland Kirk, or Rahsaan Roland Kirk. And he didn't have sight, but was very musically inclined. Some of you may have seen pictures of him or heard of him. But this gentleman was able to play multiple woodwind instruments and percussion instruments at the same time in kind of cooperation and musical sonic corroboration with one another. Just an amazing sight to see.
Absolutely. And as a side note on that, Rahsaan was one who could fight, because when he had hecklers and come in the audience, he says, "Oh, you coming with this? Turn off the lights. I'll whoop you down." So he wasn't
turn off the lights.
Yes, turn off the lights and we'll see what happens now.
And similar to Coltrane in the sense of being in tune with the movement of the people and what was going on, Rahsaan Roland Kirk was also involved in the struggle, in the struggle for racial equality and equality, period, and was involved with demonstrations and protests, you know, for justice. And you find this even in his music, some of the song titles, but definitely, you know, in his life and in his performances. In fact, I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'm looking forward to, there is a beautiful documentary about Rahsaan Roland Kirk. It's called The Case of the Three-Sided Dream.
The
Case of the Three-Sided Dream. I recommend you check it out because, you know, with our music and with some of our musicians and the icons and pioneers of our music come a lot of stories. You know, a lot of stories, a lot of information, a lot of pictures, so to speak, for our imagination to feed on. And his life story and his images and footage of his performances and things of that nature, I think are very intriguing and very inspiring. And there's just no way that you can know about Rahsaan Roland Kirk and not want to go hear the music. And there's no way, after learning about him and hearing that music, that you can't have some type of an appreciation when you see this guy playing 3 or 4, 5 instruments at the same time, you know, with his feet, with his arms, with his mouth.
Just incredible. Just incredible. And he was a master of the technique called circular breathing, which allowed him to do the wind power to power all of these instruments at the same time and for extended periods of time, which a lot of times folks who weren't practicing that particular discipline would not be able to do.
Yeah, so we're going to go to this piece called Spirits Up Above.
Rahsaan Roland Kirk.
All right, Spirits Up Above. That was Roland Kirk, also known as Rasan Roland Kirk, from his recording Volunteered Slavery. And on that piece, it was actually released in 1969. Just to give you an example, we've got Rasan Roland Kirk on tenor saxophone, flute, nose flute, which he played through his nostrils, gong, whistle, horns such as the Stritch and the Manzello, and also occasionally doing some vocals. A number of other people on there, you can check it out. Vernon Martin on the bass, and you had Roland Kirk Spirit Choir doing some of that choral vocals.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that, Lasana?
Well, I think that it's a testament to Rasan's, just versatility and spirit, and his also commitment to the people in terms of being able to put together music like that and a force like that to be reckoned with. He's the type of guy who you come out and he'll have an adversary and he'll get them so enraged they'll just yell and just rage, because Rasan just come with the fire, he come with the force, he come with the movement. So you definitely don't want to get the Rasan hurry up, because like I said, he'll turn them lights off and whoop your behind. That's Rasan Roland Kirk, with the spirit of elevation, but also the spirit to battle you when it's time.
Yeah, and he you can find him too. He did on other people's work. He worked with Quincy Jones. He's on some of Quincy Jones' work, including Walking in Space, 1969. He's on some Charlie Mingus pieces as well, Mingus at Carnegie Hall and Tonight at Noon. And you can find him too, Les McCann, live at Montreal. And with Tubby Hayes.
A great LP, by the way, folks. You need to check that out. Yeah.
And Tubby Hayes is somebody that many of you may not know about, but he comes out of the UK. Mm-hmm. Some of that early UK jazz scene in the 1950s and 1960s. He's on a piece with him as well. But keeping it moving in the spirit of great saxophonists.
We got to move on to our next man. And they call him the Black Saint, the one who takes you to a higher level. He's out of that school of Texas tenors. And I'm talking about the great Billy Harper and his Quintilius Quintet. And the
Quintilius.
Yeah, that's one of these terms you just pull out, But we're going to go with one of his signature tunes that really gives you an exemplar of the type of music and the type of sound that he comes out of that great Texas tenor tradition, I should say, tradition and position. And the tune that we're going to listen to is called Priestess from the Billy Harper Quintet.
right, Priestess. The
Yes.
Billy Harper Quintet. That's from Love on the Sudan, one of Billy Harper's albums that I guess that came out in 1977.
Mm-hmm.
That was after that bicentennial year.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing about Billy Harper that I think people should know is, you know, you have to be a little persistent to find his music, physical copies, and even online. You know, he's just one of those artists who is still alive. He's up in age, one of our elders who still performs. You can still catch him live.
Still got a strong sound, still strong.
Yeah. And he's one of those musicians, Lasana, that it didn't surprise me to learn that he's kind of on the spiritual side, you know, of things as a person.
Yeah,
you know,
he is.
I began to notice that because when I would hear of him playing somewhere, oftentimes it wasn't in the regular kind of an establishment.
You'll be in a church.
It'd be in a church.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In fact, you remember that church that used to be down here in D.C. Near the Martin Luther King Library? Is a little church that the old one before they tore it down and they built the new thing down there. It's a little church that was right in the cut. And he had a concert right there, it blew the roof off the place. That was actually my first time checking Billy Harper live. And it was a really spiritual experience. I mean, it was so incredibly energetic. Just the vibration from his band and the music, it just took it to a whole nother plane, brother.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I know that church. Is it like
it was the old black Martin Luther King Library. I mean, it was like the, one of them pillbox places.
I know.
And the church is in the corner.
That's
right in the cut.
That's right.
That's where he played at.
Okay.
And I said, wow. Yeah, I said, I never music here.
Yeah. And I did see him myself a couple of times. Once I saw him at a Congressional Black Caucus concert. I think that's when he was playing there with maybe Curtis Lundy and other people. But anyway, I think he was there with Randy Weston, actually.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And then I did see him at a place in Baltimore that is sort of like a music hall, Andy Music.
Oh, okay.
And I saw him there. So that was great. And the thing about him too is you can hear he's got this, I don't know, his horn is very assertive. It's very assertive, it's very confident. And that piece, Priestess, something that is sort of like a mantra that can really get you going, head you in the right direction, put you in the right frame of mind to be strong, to be strong, to have hope, to be encouraged. That's the power of this music, and that is what that selection of the sound that you brought us, I think, gets to.
It so exemplifies just the body of work that Billy has, with that particular tune. It just really drives it forth and everything.
And the last thing I want to say, too, where you can check out some Billy Harper is when he played with Lee Morgan on Lee Morgan's last recording called The Last Session. He was a part of Lee Morgan's band, and you can find him on an episode of Soul, Soul, with an exclamation mark.
Yes.
A great show.
Series.
Yeah, and those they're available in different places, including Tubi and some other places. Some of those episodes, but he's playing the saxophone and the flute even in that episode. But on that particular piece,
if I can just throw an anecdote in, and it's also that he was very, very close to Lee. I mean, they were very, very tight. And to this day, and Billy told me this himself, so it's not just by hearsay, he said that he can't even, think about or even reflect on in any way the situation where Lee lost his life because it just was so painful to him. And another reason you can't find a lot of his stuff is that for a while he was overseas playing over in Europe most of the time, where a lot of our great people like him, Dexter Gordon, folk like that, who Dexter was in Paris for all those years, and other musicians who left here because they just either weren't appreciated, couldn't get the gigs, and the French particularly, but other European countries as well, also embraced them as the great giants that they were in terms of the music.
And like I think I heard you say before in another episode, Japan as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely just rabid about it in Japan. Yeah, they give them their flowers and then some.
So Billy Harper, as a sideman, you can find him on with Charles Erlin, in fact, on Intensity, which we've highlighted some music from there.
Oh yeah.
With Sonny Fortune, with Bobby Humphrey, also Lee Morgan, the last session, and we remember you. Max Roach was another person that he collaborated with. Woody Shaw, so many others. McCoy Tyner, on and on. Randy Weston on several times. Billy Harper, check him out. One of
the Black Saint.
Yeah, outstanding but somewhat unsung musicians. And we want to continue this discussion going to another artist that has contributed music over many decades.
Oh, yes.
And he's, I think I first heard Joe Henderson actually on, it must have been with Lee Morgan, I believe. But immediately I said, I got to check this guy out, Joe Henderson. So I went, and one of the first albums of his that I listened to was this album called Mode for Joe. And Mode for Joe is actually a song written by Cedar Walton.
Oh.
Yeah, that is speaking to Joe Henderson.
Okay.
And on this particular piece, Joe Henderson is on the tenor saxophone, Lee Morgan is on the trumpet. We got Curtis Fuller on trombone, Bobby Hutcherson on the vibes, Cedar Walton on the piano, Ron Carter again on the bass, and Joe Chambers on the drums. And this is a piece that came out in 1966. So that was a little while back. It's a great cut. It shows some of the...
That's a while back, but just to interlude, that's also was a great fertile period of music. There was some of the best stuff that was done in any genre in the mid-60s, from roughly 64 all the way to 67. There was just some incredible music coming out during that period of time.
Yeah. I don't know if I could pick out those particular years. But I think that's a good tip when it comes to this kind of music, this post-bop music, sometimes called hard bop. You know, there's different terminology. When you're talking about the 60s, that's a good place to land. So
I said the 60s, but actually it's a more expansive period. I would go all the way back to about 1954, 55, all the way to take it to 1970, just to give it a stretch. But I think 67 was really the key point.
I think I would go all the way to 72, Lasana.
Only reason I paused at 70 was because 71, 72, that's when CTI came on the scene, and it came with a whole other great music, definitely, but it taken a different direction. That's the only distinction I make. But in terms of just great music, period, I'll take it all the way to 77.
Oh, see, we keep on going.
Yeah, you know, just in terms of such people who really knew what to do with the music.
But you got to watch out for 76. and for y'all, just to clarify, you know, there's always great musicians doing great music all the time. But what I laugh about sometimes, in 1976, it was the height of disco music. And these record labels seem to have the tendency to say they wanted to capitalize on it. No matter what genre of music a musician was coming from, you know, we saw that in 1976. I feel like I saw many jazz musicians putting out disco records, you know, with a disco beat. So sometimes you got to be careful about 1976, you know. But let's go and hear Mode for Joe. And this is where you get to hear some of the versatility of Joe Henderson. right, mode for Joe Henderson.
Yes.
And Joe Chambers on the bass, Joe Chambers on the drums, Ron Carter on the bass, Cedar Walton on piano, Bobby Hutcherson on vibes, Curtis Fuller on trombone, Lee Morgan on the trumpet. And you could just hear Joe Henderson, playing kind of straight ahead on one level, and then almost going to the avant-garde on the other. He was sounding sort of kind of cool and sophisticated on one hand, and then going like Pharaoh in the next.
Pharaoh at that.
So that's what I appreciated about Joe Henderson, is that he seemed to be able to be very competent and confident, in projecting musically in multiple directions.
Absolutely. And the other piece that I really love about Joe Henderson and that tune in particular was just the lyricism of his horn in terms of bridging those different musical styles together. It was really, really a bridging sort of modality that he used to bring that effect to all of those things. And of course, the great people he had surrounding him playing was just, impeccable. So can't go wrong with Joe on that.
And he did a lot of music. I can't believe he actually passed away only at the age of 64. So he really wasn't that old.
Wow.
I had a chance to see him one time in a park in Northern Virginia, where I'm not going to. No. It was just like a little park.
Oh, wow.
Not a big. It was just him there in this park, and I think either he was just playing solo saxophone by himself, or he might have had the accompaniment of a bass player and a drummer. I don't remember.
Okay.
But this was in the 1990s. So, and he had put out that record, Lush Life.
That was nice. Yes.
And you think about something like Lush Life, and then you think about the album he did, which was featuring Alice Coltrane. It's like two almost totally different types of experiences. But he was very respected, very prolific, recorded heavily on the Blue Note label, but also some other labels. And as a side musician, you can find him on all of those Blue Note label suspects. People like he played with Freddie Hubbard. He played with Art Farmer. And recorded really with these people. Woody Shaw, Ron Carter.
Oh, yeah, Woody Shaw's another one I got to get
Blue
to.
Mitchell.
Oh, Blue, yes.
On several Herbie Hancock pieces, in the 60s in particular. Roy Ayers, Lee Morgan, Bobby Hutcherson, Horace Silver. He's on that Horace Silver, the Soul Sister.
Oh, Serenade for a Soul Sister.
Yeah. If my memory serves me, I could be wrong, but that's what I believe he's on there. Andrew Hill, Larry Young, Nat Adderley, Charles Erling.
Boys,
he's on Charles Erling, Leaving This Planet. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. The Charles, they're always leaving the planet. So that's not.
So someone who's done a lot of great work in a relatively short period of time. And we're going to move on
to our next person. And this is a young lady who is just so studied and so reverent of the ones who came before her. And that's Ms. Lakeisha Benjamin. Lakeisha is based in New York right now. She's attended Berklee School of Music for a while, came under the tutelage of a number of people who really helped to foster her career. She once told me when I talked with her directly that when she was coming through, she really looked for the support of a lot of women musicians who, were supporting her, because when she came on the scene, there weren't really a lot of women who were playing saxophone or who were encouraged to play saxophone. So she kind of felt in an isolated flow with that. But she had a band director who really encouraged her and, helped her to stay on the track, because she eventually dropped off of music and then came back to it because of the encouragement of this brother. And I forgot his name, so you'll have to forgive me. But because of that, she stayed true to the saxophone. Her influences of people like Joe Henderson, that we just got done, of course, John Coltrane, some of the notables and everything, and she plays in a very strong bop laden style that is reminiscent of some of the greats in that tradition. And she's come out very strong and prolifically as one of these quote unquote, like they like to use this term, young lions who's emerging, coming on the scene. Yeah. And the woman has skills. Sister is good. And she likes comic books, because I remember one night she came up there and she was dressed like the Flash. And I talked to her after the day, she had on red and yellow and everything. Is dressed like the Flash. So I caught her after the concert. I said, yo, you up there styling like the Flash. She started laughing because she said, oh, you the only one who caught that. I said, yeah. I mean, she was there, but she was jamming that night. She was jamming at a place called Harlem Stage up in New York that has really, really good performances. And I think who was on that set with her night was another young lady that we're going to get to in our future sessions. Brandy Younger was also on that particular set. So okay. Lakeisha Benjamin. We're going to go with Phoenix for Lakeisha. So let's hear Phoenix from Lakeisha Benjamin. Keisha Benjamin taking us out there and bringing us back in the way that she can and does. She is truly a consummate musician and a showwoman as well, because she's up there jamming and dancing in the entire set where I saw her and really was engaging with her bandmates. Um, it was just an incredible and electrifying performance, and always a pleasure to hear and see the rising and upcoming and talented Lakeisha Benjamin.
Yeah, because she's kind of new on the scene. I didn't actually know about her until her second album release. That's what brought her to my attention. It was well, actually, it's not. It wasn't even the second. It was the third, Pursuance, the Coltrane's. And once I heard that, where she's doing covers of John Coltrane and Alice Coltrane music, I started to explore her. And yeah, she's young, she's up and coming, got a very fierce kind of tone in her alto saxophone playing.
Definitely.
Very creative, I would say a good composer, and someone who I think is really representing the power that women and young women can bring to this music. So very proud of her. I did have a chance to see her a couple of times and actually meet and speak with her at least once, and that was at an NEA Jazz Master conference and concert. And she was very personable, very open, and she was there playing actually with Sharonay Wade.
Oh, she was doing a thing with Shawnee?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. So, who is another person that maybe we'll get around to talking to as well. But yeah, Lakeisha Benjamin, I was just reading about her that when she was with the New School, she studied under Gary Bartz while she was at the New School
That's
University.
right. I totally forgot to mention that. I'm glad you brought that in, Craig.
And also Billy Harper. She studied under Billy Harper, Reggie Workman.
You can hear it in her song.
Yeah, Buster Williams, Joe Chambers, all people that you've heard us talk about just recently.
So she comes from a tried and true lineage of this music, and she's representing well.
Yeah. And I think they're saying too that she started a band called the Young Titans of Jazz. So definitely somebody who's in it to win it, to be in it, for the long term. And along those same lines, I had to follow someone like Lakeisha Benjamin with what I would call like a male counterpart. There's another young guy who is out here putting out great music, who is what I consider to be a great composer, actually, since so many of his songs are so memorable and the kind of thing that you can just listen to over and over again. And that's Kamasi Washington.
I knew you were going to go there. Yes.
Yeah, Kamasi Washington coming out of California. And I used to think that his debut was the Epic, which was a 3 CD release. And to a certain extent, that was his debut in terms of a major type of debut. But he had actually recorded a couple of other pieces before that, which I came to discover, and of course, in time, have been made available. But when that Epic came out, Lasana, I kept hearing about Kamasi Washington. I heard a little bit on WPFW radio station in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. But it's when I was at a soccer match with one of my kids, and one of the other parents was talking to me, and she told me her and her husband said they had gone to see Kamasi Washington, that I should make sure I check him out because it was so amazing to see him and all these other young people playing this beautiful and this strong and this powerful jazz music. And I said, okay. Sometime when there's hype about things, I kind of, ignore it and say, yeah, whatever. And there was certainly some hype about Kamasi Washington, but it was well deserved. I checked him out. I just couldn't believe it.
Oh yeah, he's thorough. He's the real deal.
Yeah.
It ain't just no overhype. He delivers based on the promise and based on the projection. Kamasi's the truth, the real deal.
Yeah, and being a young man, and from California too, I think, he's been involved with music with some of the people involved with hip hop and neo soul, as well as jazz. I mean, I've seen him appearing with Jeffrey Osborne. Jeffrey Osborne had a jazz album.
Once upon a time,
and it was, it was in his later one of his later recordings, and Kamasi Washington is on at least one of those songs. And then, of course, he was in a group together with Robert Glasper and some other people.
Oh, Glasper's another one. Yes.
And then he's even featured sometimes on some of this rapper by the name of Kendrick Lamar that people are getting to know about. So he's on some of those things.
Kendrick Lamar is more than a rapper. He's an actual musician who just happens to rap and use that as his medium to get through. But he's a accomplished musician in his own right.
Really?
I gotta give him his props on that.
I'm going to reserve my props. But
well, we can agree to disagree. We're not like the disagreeable people in Congress who's up there trying to attack each other and all like that. We can agree to disagree on certain things, and Kendrick can be one of them.
Yeah,
we agree more than we disagree. So, and on principle things too.
Yeah, and so Kamasi Washington's latest recording came out 2024. It's called Fearless Movement. Again, it features kind of a lot of work. It's not a 3 CD release like his 2 previous releases were, but it is a double CD release. So he has a tendency to put a lot of material out all at one time. But the piece that I wanted to play is something off of Heaven and Earth, which was a 2 CD release with a hidden 3rd CD that was kind of sealed in the binding of the actual CD, and you had to discover that it was there. And that part was called The Choice. And he was, I think, presenting the idea. I heard him express in an interview that you got heaven, you got earth, and you got the choice to decide, what your orientation is going to be, spiritual, material, which way you're going to go. So let's go and listen to it. Maybe we can talk more about it afterwards. But this piece is called Show Us the Way. And I could have picked a lot of pieces, but I picked this one not just because it was great, but because it wasn't too long. He has he has a tendency to have some very extended pieces.
Oh, yeah, he does. But I love that about him because everybody's going for brevity, and he's taking it back to that whole space where it started in the mid-'70s when you started going to long playing albums in all genres, and people were really stretching out and showing serious musicianship and conceptual music that really took you different places that you hadn't had a chance to go to before.
All right. So here's Show Us the Way. Show Us a Way, Kamasi Washington. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Billy Harper and that Priestess
Yeah,
song.
yeah. It's a very familial vibration with that
Yeah,
in terms of those two particular cuts. That's a very astute observation, my brother.
yeah. And his music and also his, performance, sort of public personality, it just seems to exude consciousness, you know, spirituality, and a kind of righteousness, amongst the young people. Now, he's not a young man, like a teenager. He's in his 40s now, but, that's still relatively young. And on that piece, you can hear he employs the use oftentimes of a choir, oftentimes of strings, an orchestra,
Mm-hmm.
and then he has his core group, which usually features, just like on this track, two drummers simultaneously, which is an interesting thing. And then he employs sometimes.
It goes back to that old Coltrane thing. Coltrane used to play with Elvin Hayes and Rashid
Rashid
Ali.
Ali. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. At the same time, and of course they had conflict with them. Rashid talking about he can't play, and Elvin is just why he's bringing this non-stick. That was wild, but Coltrane was always exploring different ways to do music and everything, and the dual drummer thing was one way that he did that. Much like what Kamasi's doing, probably borrowed that from the Coltrane.
And then too, I think we mentioned at one time, I know I did, that Sonny Chirac used to do that.
Oh yes, that's right.
He would have the two drummers at the same time. But what I was about to say is that he also uses as for vocals, for lead vocals, oftentimes Dwight Tribble. Dwight Tribble, and
I'm a believer.
Yeah, and
Dwight can go.
And this woman, Patrice Quinn, and even his father often on flute there. So it's just very interesting what's happening there out of Los Angeles, out of that center that Billy Higgins once, co-founded and headed up, and now that Dwight Tribble is the director of. But Kamasi Washington, I could talk all day, but we're going to move on. We're going to talk about some more people, but definitely check out Kamasi Washington. Check him out live if you can. I had the chance to do that as well. And we're going to go to this other gentleman.
Yeah, we're going to go to Cornelius, y'all. Sonny Fortune. And Sonny is just a old school cat. He goes in with a whole class of Sonnies, the Sonny Stitz, the Sonny Rollins. There's a whole class of saxophone playing musicians named Sonny.
Sonny Phillips.
Yeah, Sonny Phillips. And is the interesting thing about Cornelius Sonny Fortune, is that he for a time strayed into about roughly the mid 80s. What folks call was a popular thing of music where everybody had to do a kind of popular hit just to kind of keep food on the table. At least that's what they said. It was jazz was under attack and dying. However, Sonny never really acceded to that. But even when he did it, the pieces that he did, or that when it was perceived that he did that. And the other thing about Sonny, he's born the same day as Malcolm X, May 19th.
Yeah.
Different year, but same date. So, he also has that kind of, Taurus energy for those who are in the flow with that. So it's another thing that gives that forceful thing with him. And that, determined, stubborn streak that he had, because there was a thing that Miles Davis used to always kind of go and, would try and, intimidate, musicians and stuff. He never tried that stuff with Sonny, though, because Sonny knocked him out. He's one of those type of cats. So Miles knew enough to leave Sonny alone. But the piece that we're going to do with Sonny today is a piece that was really well received and got a lot of radio play, and it was definitely in the jazz vein and stuff, even though Sonny himself may not have really liked it. He wasn't really cool with the company that did it, but it's just a great piece, and I think introduced a lot of people who normally wouldn't know Sonny to Sonny. And it's a piece called Georgiana. Have a listen, folks, and check it out for yourselves.
Georgiana.
Yes, Georgiana.
See, so nice, so funky.
Yes.
It just great.
And no, unquestionably jazzy.
Yeah.
You cannot say that ain't jazz. So Sonny may have had his particulars about, doing that and everything, but it was a strong jazz piece, and it definitely expanded his reach to a whole audience out there.
And I have that record. I have it on actual vinyl.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. And one of the reasons is because there was a time some years back we had a conversation. You brought up Sonny Fortune, and you were talking about him, and that led me to, and on your suggestion, I went and I got some Sonny Fortune. First, I got Infinity.
Yeah, Infinity was a nice one.
Yeah. And then I wound up getting that particular album as well.
The Sound Reason.
Yeah, the Sound Reason as well, and that had a lot to do with your suggestion. You see, I'm not, I'm always open to suggestion, man.
Yeah, well, so
no suggestion is wasted on me, and we hope the listening audience will be open to suggestions.
Absolutely.
Check out Sonny Fortune. I think I first heard him maybe on some McCoy Tyner. He was one of McCoy Tyner's sidemen, as was Avery Sharp, who was a bass player that we talked about in another episode. He did play with McCoy Tyner, recorded with McCoy Tyner a few different times, and on Sahara specifically, and on Song for My Lady. And my tendency is to really chase down and explore the music of all of McCoy Tyner's side musicians. Because,
absolutely. Because he always had quality people with him.
People like Gary Bartz and
Gary Bartz,
on and on, So check out Sonny Fortune. I also want to say that one of the pieces that captured me about Sonny Fortune was his recording he did that was In the Spirit of John Coltrane, is called, that he released in 2000, where he's not exactly doing Coltrane covers. I think maybe one of them is a cover, but the rest of them are sort of like oblique takeoffs of Coltrane-like compositions and songs. And at the time, it was very, very difficult to get. It might still be pretty hard. But, I was blown away by that, and had a chance to see him one time in concert at Blues Alley.
You talking about Sonny Fortune?
Sonny Fortune, yeah.
Where I saw Sonny in concert was there was a doctor, a medical doctor, used to live right off of that curve on 16th Street. His name was Tuffy Simpkins, and he actually wrote a book about Coltrane and everything, and he was always a very strong aficionado of Sonny. In fact, whenever Sonny was in town, he would come. Knew him personally, was good friends with him and everything. So one of the places that I actually saw Sonny, I think I saw him two places, but this was at Left Bank when they had the Left Bank Society in Baltimore. Yeah. And so Sonny did a thing up at Morgan State, I believe it was, and went up there to see him. And of course, he gave a great, show up there. But, Tuffy was always extolling the virtues of Sonny Fortune. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, as a sideman, you can find Sonny Fortune on some recordings by Nat Adderley, Miles Davis. He's on Big Fun, Get Up With It,
Agartha, Billy Bang in there too.
Yep, Billy Bang, Gary Bartz, George Benson, Elvin Jones, Charles Mingus, McCoy Tyner, of course, Mongo Santa Maria, even 1969, Stone Soul. So, Sonny Fortune, check him out. One of a great saxophonist who maybe is a little unsung, and certainly a treasure worth uncovering.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You can't go wrong with checking some Sonny Fortune.
And on that note, and talking about Sonny Fortune, you mentioned how, Miles Davis didn't mess with him and how Miles Davis tried to intimidate people. Well, Azar Lawrence, who was a saxophonist who also worked, had an occasion to work with Miles Davis, had similar experience. But Azar Lawrence, who I think is from Detroit, he said, "We don't play that." And so
he sounded like a brother from Detroit.
And so I remember him talking in an interview about, because of course, when someone has played with Miles, all these interviewers, always like, "Oh, what was it like being with Miles?" They have all this kind of exaggerated reverence for the mystique of Miles Davis, and assume that everyone is as enamored with Miles Davis as they are. But that's not always the case. And in the case of Azar Lawrence, Azar Lawrence was saying that he didn't like him, He played with him. He was a young guy, and that Miles Davis tried to intimidate him physically, and so he challenged Miles Davis, and let him know that if he wanted to go, they could go. You know what I mean? And he wound up, of course, not playing with him any time after that. But just to share, just to corroborate Sonny Fortune's experience, Azar Lawrence also experienced the same type of thing. And I think Coltrane experienced it, but he just stuck around and
yeah. Coltrane just dealt with it and everything.
Dealt with the bruises.
He hit him upside the head. Coltrane hit him on the head with a drumstick and all this type of stuff too.
Yeah. So
Miles Davis is a maniac. I'm sorry, I know y'all.
But let's not.
There.
We're gonna get into. We'll have a whole session of Miles bashing later on.
It's not even bashing. It's just a statement of fact.
But I want to talk about Azar Lawrence though, because Azar Lawrence, this guy, at a very significant time in my life, which was about 14 years ago, 15, 14 years ago, I started to really go to these concerts and performances.
Right.
And it really marked that beginning as with the Azar Lawrence concert that I saw, where it was Azar Lawrence, Benito Gonzalez, Nicholas Payton on trumpet, and Billy Hart on drums. And I think I think Michael Bowie was on the bass, being local here. But I saw him at Blues Alley. He had just released his album. I think it was called Quest. I want to say Mystic Journey. It had the song on there called Quest. On the recording, Eddie Henderson is playing the trumpet. Speaking of musicians who are also in the medical field, Eddie Henderson.
Oh, I didn't realize Eddie was a physician.
Well, he was, a psychiatrist.
Oh,
yeah, yeah. He was.
He should have a full
and
people in the business
and still living. Eddie Henderson. But Eddie Henderson is on the recording, and Essiett is on the recording at the bass. But Nicholas Payton was my first time seeing Nicholas Payton, which was no disappointment at all.
Oh yeah, he's out of New Orleans.
And I heard Azar Lawrence, and it just made all the difference to me having that experience. With Benito Gonzalez on the piano, who wrote some of the compositions that they played. And
Benito, bad boy, he got chops, he got skills.
Yeah, it was really
the Venezuelan victim, as I call him.
Special. But that led me to do what we hope all of you will do, which is go back and explore. Go back and explore. I began to dig up Azar Lawrence. I began to see he had a connection with Earth, Wind, and Fire. He had some jazz funk fusion type of albums and music that he did. He played with and recorded with many different people in various genres, but just very exciting music and so on, of course, who also presents that sort of consciousness and their spirituality in the music. And this particular song I want to go to is from his first recording as a leader. It comes from 1974. It's called Bridge into the New Age. That's the name of the album, and that's the name of the song. It features a large ensemble of artists, including a vocalist that you may or may not recognize. We'll tell you about it afterwards. But check it out. It's Bridge into the New Age, Azar Lawrence.
Divine stage, bridge
Right. Bridge into the new age. I tell you, I
Yeah.
can't wait to tell you who was on vocals, who was on the trumpet, who was doing what to who on that thing. But I'll start off with the vocals, which was Gene Carn.
It might have been Gene Carn, but I didn't want to say it because I said no.
So Gene Carn, doing the vocals on that particular piece. On drums, Billy Hart. So interesting that Billy Hart was on this piece in 1974, and then Billy Hart was also on the piece that he did, like I say, 14, 15 years ago. So they have a long relationship with one another. Woody Shaw on the trumpet.
Woody Shaw, it was Woody. Yeah, I knew. I thought that. Yeah.
Guillermo Franco on percussion. I tell you, it's like trying to get information about Guillermo Franco is not easy because, of course, he was basically a sideman. I think he only had one recording as a leader, but he came to my attention through McCoy Tyner. McCoy Tyner used him very frequently, and his contributions are always kind of remarkable, and led me to look into the credits to say, who is this, hitting this triangle and, hitting these conga drums and whatnot. On vibraphone, it was Woody Murray, somebody that you don't hear about much. And of course, Azar Lawrence wrote that. He was on the saxophone, Clint Houston on the bass. And it's just a beautiful record, bridge into the new age, really representing that 1970s type of feeling where there was that exploration into jazz, soul, funk, fusion music. It
was experienced into a spirit jazz.
Yeah, and that's exactly the spiritual side of things, that sort of uninhibited spiritual message that you find in the lyrics and in the vibration of the music. What else I want to say about Azar? I mean, as we're closing it out, you can find Azar Lawrence. He's with McCoy Tyner on Enlightenment, Sama Layuka in 1974, and Atlantis. He's with Woody Shaw on Moon Train, Elvin Jones, New Agenda. He's with Freddie Hubbard, Bundle of Joy. That was in 1977. Henry Franklin, a few of his. Henry Franklin, of course, the bassist.
He's with Gene Harris as well.
Yeah, Gene Harris. So, and other places as well. And he has a kind of a newish release that came out just recently in the last year and a half or so that is called New Sky. And it's a little bit of a departure from his two previous recordings in that it has some compositions and some arrangements and some production and instrumentation from people that you wouldn't normally find on his recording. It does have a very commercial aspect to it. And I would say leans heavily in the jazz, soul, funk fusion, but in a modern way, except for one of the tracks, which is a revisitation of a song that he recorded earlier called Revelation. But certainly worth checking out. We encourage, I do, and I'm pretty sure the sound you feel the same way. We encourage a broad-minded approach to this music.
Absolutely.
And not, what's the benefit of being narrow, and exclusionary? Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have a lot of folks who, in this music, who take that, but that also extends to the movies as well. So that's probably why that came out that way. But you find that you get more of a richness of the tapestry and the mosaic that comes out of these musical as well as viewing experiences when you're open and you try things that are slightly different from what you may be accustomed to, but you find wonderful new palettes and wonderful new colors to explore as you go through the sound.
Yeah, that's very eloquent. I just want to say, relax yourself and enjoy the music. Stop acting crazy.
All that too and more.
What he said, Okay, so that brings us to a conclusion of this particular episode where we just touched the tip of the iceberg.
That's right.
Of some saxophonists in this great music.
That's right.
Until next time.
Until next time, talk spirit jazz.